Hey, what's poppin', fellas? For a while now I wanted to make another scripted video, but I wasn't sure on what game or character to make it of, but I wanted to start it off with Kingdom Hearts before I branch off to something like Sonic the Hedgehog or Persona or SMT. Now, before you continue watching, there will be some major spoilers, so viewer discretion is advised. You have been warned. Anyway, today I bring you an in-depth character analysis on my personal favorite member, number 9 of Organization 13, Demyx. Okay, starting off with his appearance, he's 5 foot 7 inches, has some blonde, slicked back hair looking straight out of a rock band, blue eyes, and a relatively skinny physique. As for his physical age, I've searched multiple sources, and most tend to lean towards him being somewhere in his 20s, probably 22 if I had to guess. But the sources can vary depending on where you look, to be honest. Anyway, moving forward. Next are his powers. Demyx is apparently not well known for his fighting amongst the other members of the organization, but honestly, he's just lazy. Take a look at his fight against Sora in KH2FM, he's no pushover when he actually tries. He also uses an instrument to fight, that big thing he's holding? Yeah, that's called a sitar, and Demyx plays music and summons water clones with it to do his bidding. His clones show up in different shapes and forms and can do different things. His powers are basically completely water-centric, summoning water clones, using water pillars, and orbs of water, you name it. Aside from his water powers, he can open the typical dark corridor to teleport from place to place like the other members of the organization. Anyway, next is his personality. Demyx is very casual, friendly, lazy, and kind of a scaredy cat as shown in multiple occasions. He can also be selfish from time to time. In 358 over 2 days, you can often find the guy napping on the organization's couch hating his job. The reason I say cowardly is because, well, the guy clearly doesn't enjoy fighting. When it comes to the organization, whether it be KH2's or the true organization in Kingdom Hearts 3, Demyx has remained as one of the more comical side characters. He really seems like someone you could get along with pretty easily. As for his relationships with the other members of the organization in 358 over 2 days, is that he got along with Axel and Xigbar pretty well. He often wished that Xemnas wouldn't send him on missions to fight and, quote, isn't cut for combat. It would rather stay at the castle or go on recon missions than do all the big time stuff. From good comes the bad. He didn't have a good relationship with both Larxene and Saïx in days, which is honestly not at all a surprise, considering their personalities just don't mesh well. But despite his laziness, and even cool moments, like that time he learned about Larxene being defeated in Castle Oblivion, honestly, he did show some care towards Xion, despite messing with her a lot, seemingly feeling bad when finding out that she was a quote-unquote puppet. But his personality, honestly, is just way deeper than that in my eyes, and we'll get into that soon. Okay, now let's move on to what he's done and when in the series. There isn't really as much in-depth info on him compared to the other members, and his identity before becoming a nobody is virtually non-existent, and you don't really need to know much about Demyx if you're only looking to understand the necessities of the plot. Demyx's story starts in 358 over 2 days. There's not really a whole lot about him in this game, aside from tagging alongside Roxas on some missions and being the topic of discussion amongst Roxas and Axel on some occasions. Yeah, he doesn't really do a whole lot in this game, but it does introduce the guy pretty well, and it shows some, funny moments he had. But, moving on to Kingdom Hearts 2, he was given a mission by Xigbar to track down Sora to quote-unquote liberate his true disposition, which probably means to bring back Roxas or have Sora be used for the organization's own means. He tried to settle a deal with Hades while Sora was in the underworld, but nothing is really notable about Demyx until he met up with Sora, Donald, and Goofy at Hollow Bastion right before the 1000 Heartless battle, in which he was defeated by Sora and thus was seemingly gone for a good while, only making a short appearance in Dream Drop Distance and being shown as a memory. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, our beloved lazy Melodious friend was brought back. Demyx's somebody was confronted by young Xehanort, where he agreed to join the real Organization 13, though this time he was basically benched as a reserve member of the group in the event that one of the members were defeated before the big showdown between the 7 Lights and 13 Darknesses. After a little reunion with the other resurrected members, Demyx ended up actually meeting up with Vexen in Radiant Garden, Hollow Bastion, and in turn betrayed the organization after being convinced by Vexen. It's actually partly thanks to Demyx that an empty replica vessel was delivered to Ienzo to help bring back Roxas. Later on in the story, Demyx actually confronts Riku in the Keyblade Graveyard after Dark Replica Riku was defeated, where Riku allowed Demyx to take the replica's empty vessel. With that, he delivered the empty vessel to Ienzo to help bring back Naminé, and after that, his whereabouts returned to being unclear. But at the very least, he's back now. Honestly, I really want to see more info on this guy and what he could do in the future games. I really like his personality, and I honestly see potential in his character for future installments. He's in dire need of some development and having a relationship with the main characters like Sora and Riku and all of them. Looking at Demyx, he's honestly pretty underappreciated, and people never really took the time to look into who he is as a person and why he did what he did. He tends to run from fights, as I said earlier, most notably against the likes of Hades, despite having that Olympus medallion and water powers to combat his fire. If Demyx really tried, he most likely would have defeated Hades with little trouble. I mean, look at his boss battle compared to Hades. You cannot compare the two fights. I mean, Demyx is clearly shown to be vastly superior after putting up a good fight against the likes of Sora. Demyx may seem like a lazy, cowardly guy, but I honestly think there's a heart of gold in there somewhere. That has some problems. Let's actually talk about that. It's honestly kind of obvious that he's got a bit of an anxiety condition and has a low self-esteem. Maybe he's had some problems in his real life before becoming a nobody, but now we at least have a direction for him and where he'll go. His impact in Kingdom Hearts 3, while seemingly small to some, was actually kind of important. I mean, it goes to show that Demyx is starting to try harder, and that he cared about resurrecting Roxas and Naminé as compared to 358 over 2 days, where he seemed more indifferent. In Kingdom Hearts 3, he had a change of heart. Demyx actually realized why Vexen and Ienzo are doing what they're doing. Maybe in the future Demyx will become a somebody again and join our heroes in a future installment. Maybe he'll become a Keyblade wielder, maybe even playable, but that's obviously pushing it. He just needs some good friends like Sora and the gang to help him in the right direction even further. Only time will tell what Square's plans for this guy will be. And on that note, that just about wraps up my analysis on Demyx. Let me know how I did on this video in the comments. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, turn on all notifications, and stay tuned for an update video soon. Peace out, fellas.